In this video, I really want to talk about what I think are the best lures to use in the month of September. Now, there are a ton of different lures out there on the market, but the thing about September is it can actually be pretty tough when it comes to bass fishing. And there's a couple of big reasons why. One of the first things is that these bass by September have been extremely pressured. They have seen everything out there in the world that there is as far as a lure goes. And so sometimes you have to be a little bit sneaky with your baits, or what I really like to do is keep my baits simple and cover a ton of water. One of the things that I used to hate about once it kind of started dipping into the fall is that I would struggle to be consistent out there on the water. And once I really started to simply simplify my tackle during this time of the year, it really helped me to be more consistent. So in this video, I'm gonna give you a few baits that I like to use during the month of September. Now, before we get into it, this video is brought to you by Boat Things. Boat Things is literally where I am right now. Not only are they a retailer now that have an awesome tackle shop with a bunch of cool Japanese products and lures, but also they're known for being able to install your electronics and get them to be working the best that they can. Like, these guys are the best in the business. I trust them with all of my electronics, and now they have this awesome tackle shop. And something that's really cool about the tackle shop is that if you guys want to use the coupon code BFHQ10, you can either come in here in the store and use that and get 10% off, or you can use it online, which I will leave links down below, and also get 10% off any of the tackle that you guys are seeing. So be sure to check out Boat Things. All right, let's go ahead and get into my top baits. Now, like I said, I really like to keep things simple in the month of September. I think that that is the best thing that we can do as an angler when things are tough. Keep things simple. Now, one of the things that I have grown to do a lot during this month is simply pick up a topwater bait and go and just start fishing. Now, the big thing about it is that there's a lot of different topwaters on the market, and depending on the style of lake that you are fishing, there might be a topwater that is a little bit better suited for that lake. For example, there are a lot of lakes across the country. You think of like the Ozark style lakes that are clear water, maybe a lot of rock banks and things like that. In those lakes, for whatever reason, I have always loved a whopper plopper style bait, a bait like this. In clear water, I don't know what it is about this month, but I pick up a whopper plopper a lot and just go. Now, this is a whopper plopper River to Sea, the 110. This is the one that I probably use the most out of any of the whopper ploppers that there are on the market. It is one of the best ones. And as you can see, they've got really the two main colors over here at Boat Things that I'm going to use, which is kind of a bone or a white color and a simple black. Like, that is what I like to use. Now, obviously, your lake may be different. Your lake may have a ton of grass in it or vegetation, or maybe you fish a lot of ponds. And if you fish a lot of ponds during this time of the year or lakes that have vegetation, one of your best friends is going to be a frog. Is going to be a frog of some sort. You know, this is as standard as it comes when it comes to bass fishing, the Spro Bronzeye 65. But this thing continues to catch bass like year in and year out. I mean, we just saw a tournament up there on the Mississippi River, the Bassmaster Elite. Everybody was throwing frogs up there, but a frog is a great bait in the month of September. In lakes that have vegetation, I'm going to throw this a lot. Also, lakes that don't necessarily have vegetation, but lakes that have a lot of overhanging trees and docks, I also like to fish a frog of some sort, because I really like to be able to skip my bait into those shade pockets that the trees and the docks are actually forming. Now, when I fish more shade pockets, I'm gonna be using a poppin' frog a lot. You know, a frog like this one right here, this is the Spro Popper. This one right here, it's going to sound a little bit more like a bluegill, kind of have that popping noise to it, and it also walks really well. This bait, the popping version of the Spro, definitely, in my opinion, walks better than the pointed nose one. But there's a lot of good frogs out there on the market to decide from. Those are just a couple that I have fished a lot in the past. Now, another really, really good bait this time of the year is a smaller topwater bait. You guys have heard me talk about this one in the past, and I'm blown away that they actually have them here over at Boat Things, and that is the Jackal Riser 007. This bait is extremely hard to get a hold of. I'm sure that you guys have probably tried in the past. The thing about this bait specifically is that it mimics those young of the year shad extremely well. And during the month of September and getting into October, you have a ton of these fish that are feeding on these shad that are literally about 2 inches in length. And when they're that small, it's very difficult to match the hatch in that case. And this Jackal Riser does it. You guys have probably seen the videos I've done on it, but you can literally just skip this thing across the surface and catch a ton of fish. I am shocked that they actually have them here. But that is a really good bait. There's been a lot of companies that have now made baits that are very similar, but to me, the original, the Jackal Riser, nothing comes close to it. So a really good bait. I'm sure that you'll be able to find them on the website as well. So now the thing about it is that you will find at times that bass are just not really in a mood to bite a topwater of any sort. I hate that because I love to throw a topwater, but when they are not wanting to eat a topwater, again, kind of keeping on this this whole idea of keeping things simple, I really like to go to a simple Texas rig. You know, for example, if I'm fishing that same lake like I talked about where I was, you know, fishing that frog and I can't get a lot of frog blowups, I'm gonna start to transition to a Texas rig, typically a heavy Texas rig, something like a big punch rig. You know, I do a lot of punching in August, in September, and even in October. Like those are probably some of my better punching months. And when it comes to a punching bait, you want something that is kind of small so that it can slip through that mat all right. And one of my favorite baits that I've used a lot is a Baby Rage mini scrub. These things are exactly what I'm like. They're kind of like a speed crawl of the world where they're able to slip through that mat, but also they have a little bit of kick. And I really, really like that. And I keep my colors really, really simple, guys. It's always green pumpkin. It's black and blue. I might dye the tips of the tails a little bit yellow to try to mimic a bluegill. But for the most part, I really like the smaller baits on my Texas rig when I'm punching. Now, another thing that I like to do a lot is target the outside grass lines. You guys probably saw a video that I did last year where I targeted some outside grass lines up in New York and caught a ton of big fish. I was using a 3/8 ounce weight, kind of casting it into the grass and dragging it right there to the edge. During this time of the year, when that grass gets really tall, the bass will use the grass as a hard edge to prevent bait from like going further. So they will push bait into the grass or just to the edge of the grass where then they can feed on them. And one of the best ways, again, a simple Texas rig. Flipping and pitching a Texas rig on the edge. Now in that video, I was using one of my favorite baits, which you guys know is the Berkley Pit Boss. That thing is super bad to the bone. I don't know. I got on the Pit Boss train a little bit late in life. Like I didn't really pick it up until about 2-3 years ago. And I have not put that thing down. Like I fish a Pit Boss a lot. It catches a lot of fish for me. I know that there's a lot of guys, every time I talk about Pit Boss, they're like telling me to shh. The other thing that is really great about a Pit Boss is it can work, you know, in that shallow cover, you know, where those fish might be sitting up against a dock, a laydown, under an overhanging tree. The big thing with what I am trying to do in the month of September really comes down to covering a lot of water. I'm not really concerned about trying to duplicate where I caught every single fish. I'm just trying to continue to catch more and more fish on different pieces of cover. Now, the last bait that I want to talk about is one that you guys have really kind of heard me mention a few times. I think that it is so important to be a little bit different when you can out there on the water. And in the month of September, I think it is even that much more important. And I really have become a big believer in these heavy poop style baits. Like this one literally says heavy poop. This is a fish arrow bait. Again, another Japanese. I love that, you know, over here at Boat Things, they have a ton of Japanese products, and this is one that I pick up a lot. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.